AI is happening, and organizations that don't leverage AI, embrace AI, and take AI into their day-to-day business operations are going to lose competitive advantage in the marketplace. This is about the enterprises grasping this opportunity. You're going to have to start making decisions around using your AI. You need quick decisions. If you're going to train your model on this data, don't give it rubbish data. At Dell, we believe we do some really, really great technology into this market, technology that will sit and underpin it. If you sit and wait and sit and wait and sit and wait, then you're gonna miss the journey as well.
So the UK is pushing hard on digital growth, AI, automation and data-driven services.
But there's a simple question underneath it.
Can today's systems actually support the technology we want to run next?
New workloads demand more throughput, lower latency and stronger storage performance than many estates were built for.
And across the UK, we're seeing the pressure. Data centres running close to capacity, mid-market environments pushed further than anyone expected.
AI is exposing that pressure.
Today, we're looking at the limits AI is bringing into focus across UK infrastructure,
where systems start to struggle and what IT leaders need to understand before they take on anything heavier.
Ian, welcome to State of Systems.
Great to be here. Thanks very much for inviting me.
Before we get into it, we always ask for everybody's hacker handle. So it's usually your first pet and your latest ailment. So mine is Andy Hammy for a hamstring injury. What's yours?
So I can sort of demonstrate live the ailment here right now as well. But first pet was Biggles, which was a rabbit, the most evil thing in the world. And Biggles tendinitis would be demonstrating this live right
Biggles' wrist would have been a lot dangerous.
Okay. We can adjust that.
Thank you. So the UK is talking a lot about AI and digital growth, but reality usually shows up in everyday conversations. What's the mood you're hearing from the partners? What's their infrastructure pressures? Are they confident, stretched, or overworked, or concerned about the new workloads that's going through?
Yeah, absolutely. Let me sort of break that down into two bits. I think, first of all, if we look at AI, and what does AI mean for business? What does it mean for technology partners? And then what does that actually mean for the UK? I mean, we're just off the back of a massive summit with Keir Starmer a couple of months ago in the UK, talking about sort of UK's ambition. AI is here, and AI is happening. And organizations that don't leverage AI, embrace AI, and take AI into their day-to-day business operations are going to lose competitive advantage in the marketplace. It goes back to, I think we talk about a lot, it's the blockbuster moment, it's the Kodak moment. Organizations that don't start to use AI for running their day-to-day operations and businesses will lose competitive advantage against their competitors. So they have to go and use it into the business from there. I'm sure we'll come on to talk about it. That creates a lot of challenges for organizations from, is the technology they have today ready to do that? But most importantly, and I think we'll talk this as we go, but technology is not really the big challenge around AI. The big challenge about AI is, what are your business operations? What do you want to use AI for? And then where is your data? The data, the core of your business. What state's that data in? And very lucky at Dell Technologies, not only do we provide leading edge technology, but for ourselves, we're customer zero. And really happy to just talk through how we're using AI in our day-to-day operations, which is fundamentally changing the way we work and operate as a business from there. If you come across it into the UK, to quote Keir Starmer, I'll probably quote him wrong, but this was the intent of it, UK does not want to be a user of AI, it wants to be a provider of AI. And if you look at this from nations that are going to drive an AI strategy and have the resources that know and understand AI, have the capability around AI, those nations are going to be incredibly successful. And we can start looking at what's going to happen around chip supply. And if you're looking at, I'll do a book recommendation. I'm not sure this is a book club podcast, but we can talk about that. But the importance for countries, and very proud of what, on a personal level, what sort of Keir Starmer was talking about, where AI needs to be positioned. And as a nation, we need to have an AI play and an AI strategy because it will differentiate us going forward.
And has the government's AI push changed the conversations you're having? Is it still just noise, or is action actually being taken?
Yeah, the conversations we have around AI almost look at the phases of how AI are rolling out. You go back to OpenAI, the quickest application in terms of usage ever, in terms of the first, and I'll get the numbers wrong here, 10 million users. Just overnight, fundamentally changed the way that people with generative AI could go and work from there. So organizations have done that. When we've got these large training models, so be it Gemini, be it Anthropic, be it XAI, we're seeing this development of these large training models really for consumer use, for use in social media, for use in advertising, really the first phase of that. The next area that we've seen the real development now is what we call the neo clouds. So organizations which are building specific data centers, specific services to deliver AI capability to people that want to use it, large training models, large inferencing models as well. A huge amount in financial services, the use of AI around algorithmic trading. But the big market really starts to come when enterprises embed that in their day-to-day operations. And the key to success of a large language model or a medium language model or a small language model is using your data. How do you use your data you have as an organization to have the right data, to be able to train that data, but then most importantly, how's that going to affect your business outcomes? What are the outcomes that you want to achieve by making the investment and driving it forward from there? And that's where the opportunity comes. So where's the UK right now in that? We've seen some great intent of where UK wants to go, but now this is about the enterprises grasping this opportunity and driving this forward.
Is there a natural place when you reference operations? Is that the technical operation, so running your infrastructure? Is it the back office operations, or is it your customer facing operations? And of those three, have you seen an increase starting with the back office infrastructure? Is that where it's coming from? Is it being driven from there?
Yeah. So if you break it into the sort of back end infrastructure, your data center runnings, this requires a huge amount of compute. It requires a huge amount of power, and it requires a huge amount of cooling. The way that the data centers run and operate now is fundamentally different to where we've had data centers before. We're seeing liquid cooling into it. We're seeing a real rise and advent now in where the data centers are going. You're seeing it a lot into the Nordics, where it's a cool environment. You can actually use the air to cool. Also as well, it's the price of electricity. You need a lot of electricity to drive these. Again, you take the example from the Nordics, you've got hydro on tap there as well. Going back to the sort of from a nation perspective, you've got to understand, do you have the environment for cooling? Do you have the power distribution? And do you have power at a decent price to go and be successful? Because if your electricity is 5x one of your competitor nations, people are going to go and run it there. But that's the back-end operations. And you see you need these large data centers to build the models, to train the model, and it needs a huge amount of compute with it. But when you then come into the organization, you're going to have to start making decisions around using your AI. You need quick decisions. If you've got latency back to remote data centers, that's not going to work. You're not going to have the time to go and do it. And also as well, your data being your crown jewels, do you want to go and put that in a data center which may be outside of any sovereign areas? As you get into public sector defense, you get into regulated industries as well. So you need to start using that data in local data centers. Now, it's much smaller instances. You need a lot less compute for inferencing as you do for the training models. But you're going to have to build that data center and make space in your data center and understand the power requirements for it. And then the third element to it is you start to see now AI PCs. A lot of that compute can be done on the laptop, but you need your new laptop. You need the laptop with the GPU, NPU, CPU associated with it as well, and driving that compute there. So it's a fundamentally different model that organizations have to get to.
And do you think that the customer-facing team understands what they should be looking for in an AI solution, whatever that solution may be? Because I guess I always think people don't really know what they don't know, especially as it's growing so quickly. Yeah,
it's interesting. If you go into the boardrooms anywhere, the boardroom being, right, we need an AI solution. If we don't have an AI solution, then we're not going to be successful. Pause. All right, what does that AI solution mean? Let me give you the story of what we've done at Dell Technologies. I think I referenced at the start about us being customer zero. Our CTO, John Rose, is also our chief AI officer, CIO officer as well. And when John came into role, we had hundreds of different AI projects. Everyone wanted an AI project. We had to have an AI project. But the first thing John did say, well, actually, at Dell Technologies, what are the things that we do in our operations which can help differentiate for us? If we're going to focus their investment on AI, what are the things that are important to us? And there's 4 things that we're focused on. Sales operations. We've got in the region of around 40,000 sellers. How do we make those sellers more efficient? How do we make them the best technology sellers in the marketplace, which will differentiate us? Supply chain. We are a global supply chain organization. So actually, if we can use AI to make us more efficient, more faster, and maybe we'll come on to sort of global supply challenges, which are coming on down the line as a back of AI shortly. Service management. We take tens of thousands of calls around service management. How do we make that experience better? We've all dialed into call centers in our lives as well. How do we make that experience better? And then the 4th piece is we write a lot of software. We write a huge amount of software for our products. How do we make that better? So having then picked those 4 use cases which we needed to work on from there, and I'll double click into sales because I'm the customer of the sales AI. We needed to understand, by applying AI, where are the areas we apply it to make us more efficient as an organization. And the outline objective was, how do we give more time back to the sellers to go and sell? We'd spend a huge amount of time, an RFP comes in, and you'd lock yourself in a darkened office for weeks and weeks at a time around writing an RFP. Well, hang on a minute. We've got all these RFPs we've worked on before. We've got all the data of Dell Technologies. Let's build a large language model. And what we do today is we take the RFP, we plug it into our large language model, and it writes the answers for us. Now, from a human perspective, it's not going to give you a perfect answer. And you'll go through it and you'll test and adjust and make sure it's the right elements that we've got to from there. But it's like 20x quicker. And the output of our RFPs are just fundamentally better around what we do. We have a large number of people calling out to our customers, whereas before they'd have a call with a customer at 10 o'clock. You'd spend hours and hours. Who am I speaking to? What's the dynamics of the customer? What have we done with them before? When our inside sellers come in the morning now, they're ready for the day, and it will pop up. Your first call at 10 o'clock is with Joe. Joe works in this organization. We've sold him this before. It's just been announced in the news that Joe's organization has just acquired company X, and it's there for them. There is 0 time in preparation. So the number of calls that we can do works quicker. Sorry, I'm talking too much.
So you're using internally, Dell are using AI to enable the salespeople and not replace them.
Exactly, yeah. Because what this gives us now is more time to speak to customers. Yeah, we free up more time. On a personal level, I probably have a day and a half a week now, a lot of forecasting. How's the business running? What does it look like? That's all been AI'd for me now. We did joke before, if everybody was like, John Rose stands up and goes, right, let's just understand. Everybody's forecast, there's one thing that's guaranteed at the end of the quarter, it will be wrong. And everybody's got their spreadsheet, and we're spending time, and we're talking to people, and we're talking to other people. That's all automated now. And I have a screen that comes up, pull it up from there, and I know what my number's going to be based on AI, based on historic intelligence.
So all those positives, but there must be some frustrations that the partners are sharing with you?
Really, really good question. And the reason I'm pausing is, what are the frustrations with AI? I don't think people should be frustrated with it. I think frustrations are everybody wants to get to the revenue quickly. What's stopping driving that AI now? Probably goes back into that organizations. Organizations need to understand, excuse me, what is it they're trying to achieve? How are they then going to manage their data? If you take the example at Dell, we had something like 60,000 objects that we're going to put into our LLM. And there's probably some real rubbish I'd put in there like 2 years ago, which was no use to anybody. So you've got to cleanse the data, because if you're going to train your model on this data, don't give it rubbish data. So organizations have then got to spend time cleansing their data, understanding what the right data is, putting it into the right place. Then once you're through that, it's about the return on the investment and going. I'd say the frustrations are the time to understand what are the important AI projects. Number two, then that cleansing of the data. And what we talk about at Dell is we need an ecosystem with our channel partners. We like to think we do some really good technology in this space, and we're rolling out multiples of GPUs. We're just in the phase now about to roll out the GB300s, the latest chips. They're all going out into our servers as well. Technology is the easy bit. We've learned lots of things along the way, but the difficult bit and the frustration bit is getting customers ready for AI. What we started the podcast with, but customers have to do this, because if you don't do it, your competitor will. What do we get scared about at Dell Technologies? If we don't use AI ourselves and modernize ourselves as an organization, we're gonna struggle. Our number one focus is making us a modern organization to go and do this.
Are there any customer types or sectors where the infrastructure pressure is hitting harder or earlier than others?
Yeah, I think if you come back into we talked before about the phasing of this, where it's rolling out. So high performance compute, we're seeing a lot of that in UK now with Cambridge, Bristol University, Durham University as well. The constraints are coming in. Do you have the data center space? Do you have the cooling and the power you require in that data center space to go and run it? I saw something in the news last week as well. I think it's up in Teesside, an old steel factory. Someone's going to invest in that as well, but that's now going to be data center space. I don't think UK can build data center space quickly enough. We've just seen Equinix, just north of the M25, have bought a massive site.
Huge, yeah.
For that as well. That's what's required. But then ensuring you've got electricity into it, and you've got electricity at a price point which makes it competitive.
What gives up first then? The space, the power availability, the energy.
The water as well is a big thing, isn't it?
And the water that you need, the cooling from there. It comes back into, I think we've seen a clear intent from the UK government that was outlined around it. UK government wants to be a provider of this. UK government needs to ensure that we make the space for it. You've got the electricity supply into it as well. You build that capability. And if one looks into sort of states in America, different states differentiate by bring your data center here because we'll give you better electricity pricing around it. It comes back into keys to success, having the space, having the supply for it.
And in the past year, what do you think has been the biggest struggle for the customer?
I go back to that previous point. What is it I need to do AI with now? Yeah. What is it? What are the key parts of my business which I need to apply AI? We've seen a lot of pilots. We've seen a lot of projects, but they've not delivered the results because they've got to be really specific. We're very proud at Dell Technologies of how we've moved ourselves on. When I meet with partners and customers, we talk very little technology. We talk a lot about what's the use case, what's the data management that you need associated with it.
You talk a lot about data management. Is that a skill set that will morph more into the AI, along this conversation? And how does somebody sit on top of that and get the? You talked about like large learning.
Yeah.
How do you manage that? Because it can't become a self-evolving unless we joked it could be like the machines are taking over.
Yeah. It's, as an organization, you're gonna have a spread of data. You're gonna have data everywhere, but what's the quality of that data? The last thing you want to do is train you've made a huge mistake 2 years ago, and you've got artifacts of that, and you pump it into learn on this, and the way it's designed is it will start learning from that. It's that engagement, and we talk about like the ecosystems of partners and organizations around the UK now to help you get that data ready, and to really make sure that you can build that model that you need with the right data. But it's a big challenge. I have no clue where my passwords are or things like that, or on my own personal data, which is very, very small, or how many logins my children have to Netflix and Amazon and stuff like that, or their friends have. But that is the key to it, because that's how AI works at the end of the day. It's that ability to build those models, and it doesn't need to be large language, small language, medium language models. But the benefit that gives you driving that generative AI, and we haven't even touched on agentic AI yet, and having your agents that will help drive you into your day-to-day business, because it drives things more efficiently.
Yeah.
It makes it more.
Does that mean there's a lot more preparation needed to get your data into either good order, cleansing by the back office teams, the infrastructure teams?
Yeah, 100%. It's I always get this wrong around. Is it walking before you run, or run before you walk? But it's walking before you run. If your data isn't right, if you're not using the right data, you're not going to be successful with this at the end. So you've got to spend that time to understand the data, get your data models right. And again, we could have pumped in 60,000 objects at Dell Technologies, but no, we spent, and everybody's going, where's our AI project? No, we've got to get this bit right, because if we do not get this bit right, everything's going to fail going forwards. But then again, it's that constant learning. It's constant learning, and it's not waiting too long. It's do things, fail fast. Things aren't going to work. Yeah, things aren't going to work. We're about to get a major upgrade on our sales chat as well. But these are weekly upgrades that we're getting now in the performance, and we learn about it every time you do a search on it. We've got a thumbs up or a thumbs down box, and if it's not, well, I asked it this. What on earth is it giving me here now? Great, we understand it. That's not the right data. We'll test and adjust, but going hard with it, and we have teams that drive it, and it's a fundamental game changer. This ability.
Is that in a live system that you?
Yeah.
So to actually say we know it's going to fail or it's going to not work.
It's
refreshing, because typically
doing nothing isn't particularly good, and sitting back and admiring the problem and what it looks like. And look, we some of the early days of this, we were like, right, give me the specifications for this server. It gave us a design of something else. It's like, right, this is wrong. Great, we've now learned that this bit is wrong.
Yeah.
And users of it, it's like, okay, you're doing this, you've still got to check it. I think you touched on it before. The human element to this is really, really important. It gives you it's like it's a tool for you to use. It just makes things quicker.
Yeah.
But you've still got to check it and make sure it's right as you go forward.
And what kind of AI projects are you aware of within the UK that haven't made the news, but you think, wow, that's exciting?
I mean, the one thing I'm really excited about, which is in the news, it's not stuff that's not in the news from there, is sort of UK organisation Nscale. And Nscale, the work it's doing with sort of UK government now about building these GPUs as a service, that capability, that is from a UK example is a phenomenal success. Going back into what UK wants to do, that's what really good looks like from there. I assume there's some really, and you see it in your day-to-day life, the projects that come out, and actually from that there's probably stuff happening in Dell which is even more exciting for me, and I learn it by using it. We had a session last week, and our CTO in the UK was like, do you know if you do this with it? It's like, what? It does that? And it's like, and it was working with it as a thought partner. And it's like, well, don't just give me the answer. Ask me questions. I think I want to know about A, B, C, D, and E. But ask me a question about it. And then it learns and it's like, oh my God, it does that? And it's just phenomenal about how well it can do it, and those things.
What would you think's the most surprising piece of technology we use in our day-to-day life that we actually don't realise is AI because it's so good?
Because there's loads of that for me. It's almost like I literally live.
What would your favourite be then?
Alexa. I love Alexa at home. My whole when we're
come on, we need more than that.
No,
come on.
but where it's taking you to from that as well of that understanding and where it takes to. AI has been around for ages and ages and ages. Where we're moving to now is generative AI. Yeah. Where we're moving to now is agentic AI. What's the thing that's really surprised me? I run a large team of salespeople. I'm very lucky to do that as well. But going forward, I'm going to have a team of sales agents as well. And I've got to learn to how do I coach and develop those agents to make them better agents to go and drive and sell. And that as you get more and more, it's like a agentic pull and using these agents, that's super exciting.
I was going to say, what's the bit you're most excited about with agentic AI? But is it the fact that you're going to be able to develop all these different agents and
and it's something you've got to do yourself. It's something you've got to you've got to learn as an individual. Again, my book club refused. I can't remember off the top of my head as well. But
how many books do you read?
I spend a lot of time on the train. It takes me 55 minutes in the morning, 55 minutes back at night as well from there. But actually, to that point, if as an individual you don't understand the capability of AI and what AI can do, you're not going to be successful. I mean, I'll go back to industrial revolutions, and someone comes along with a steam engine. It's like, that's never going to fly. This electricity. No, we're never going to be. It's not dissimilar to the phase we're at now with AI. Those massive steps we saw in industrialization, in agriculture. We're at that inflection point as well. And as an individual, you've got to educate yourself, and you've got to learn, and you've got to understand what it is and what it looks like and how you use it. Talking about data centers use a lot of electricity. It comes back to very similar. We're sat in an warehouse in Manchester right now, the Industrial Revolution, and it is that same step and journey. We need to use AI to understand actually how do we make these data centers more efficient? How do we get them to use less electricity? How do we make, from Dell Technologies, we're super focused on, we've got these chips, how do we make our servers as efficient as possible? What elements of cooling can we use with it from there? And then going back to what we started the conversation, it's sort of working with UK government to understand how can we get electricity cheaper? How can we use wind? How can we use solar? How can we use micronuclear to make this more beneficial? It's a really exciting journey. It is just another. This is the data, it's the AI revolution, which we saw industrial revolution as well.
With the globe getting smaller day by day, where do you see our natural competitor?
I mean, you look now. Another book to good read is Chip Wars. If you read the book called Chip Wars, about organizations that have that capability to build that AI foundation, to provide the chips, to provide the infrastructure, but then to provide, where we start the conversation, the ability for data center, the ability for electricity from there. I think we're seeing this play out from a global perspective between what the US are doing, what we're seeing in China. We saw language models with DeepSeek in China, language models in America.
Yeah.
All major players are driving this as a central part of how do you grow an economy, which most countries want to do. Yeah, it's a central. It becomes a central theme to that.
So when people start exploring the heavier lifting that the IT systems are going to require, things start popping up which are different to normal day to day. What are the comments you're hearing back from people out there as to, this is hard, that I wasn't expecting this, or this was a disaster or a nightmare?
Yeah, absolutely. When you get into the sort of those massive infrastructure deployments, it's new. We're finding things we've never seen before. Storage bottlenecks. The networks need to run differently. And I'd say, look, the good news is at Dell we've had some phenomenal teams which have solved those problems. I probably wouldn't have been with them at 3-4 in the morning when they're rapidly trying to solve these problems. But again, what storage performance do you need? It starts to look very, very different to running sort of traditional data centers. The networking needs to be different. It comes back into all these things as well. The cabling, it always comes back to the cabling, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the cabling required in these data centers, the cooling. Again, we're seeing the advent of sort of liquid cooled racks and how racks works differently from there. I think the exciting thing is technology companies are fixing these problems as we go, but this whole journey is new, and we're seeing organizations now, when you build your data center, you buy a gas turbine to go with it as well. So you've got, can the grid give you the throughput you need? Maybe not. Great, I'll go and buy some gas turbines and I'll run it against gas turbines. We talked about into the Nordics where you've got hydroelectric. Who thought that the number one use case for hydroelectric would be running data centers in the sort of in the Arctic Circle? But again, people are adapting and changing to the challenges that they face.
Yeah,
and people are coming up with the answers to it. Which is good.
Are there any recent examples where storage or data movement has been a blocker in a project?
I'd say an initial blocker, back to the previous point as well, discovering new things. When you plug this in and you start driving this, the way we've done it before hasn't worked. So we need to develop new technologies. Dell Technologies, huge focus. We have a thing called Project Lightning of how we need to get that storage layers ready to go and drive into AI, and lots of other organizations doing the same, of a class of storage which needs to look very different maybe to the traditional block storage which would have been used for an Oracle database. But it's just part of that evolution of technology and the requirements that we see.
I guess the big question would be, how long do you think before the next iteration?
Yeah, this is moving quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
This is moving really, really quickly. Go back to that example of OpenAI was the most used application by, and I'll get the numbers wrong, but like factors of 10, and how quickly it was adopted. And the development of silicon, the development of the servers that are running the silicon, the development of the data centers, the efficiency of the data centers, the different types of storage class. And people are, one thing that is certain is what's good and working today isn't probably going to be the answer in a year's time. Yeah. We, at Dell Technologies, the software and services that we take into our own tools, we're ready to go again in a year's time, because what we think is the right solution today probably isn't going to be the right solution in a year's time. Something else will come along. The level of innovation, the level of startup businesses driving this, we tend to always traditionally go into the big software houses buying this as a service. The startups are quicker into this now as well, and we've had to fundamentally change ourselves. We're not using startup organizations here. But now we are, because that is where it is. But the one thing that's certain is it's moving really quickly, and something else will come. And you come back to that point, you've got to start somewhere. If you sit and wait and sit and wait and sit and wait, then you're gonna miss the journey as well.
And as you said, it's fell fast as well as you accept it's not going to work. But we'll give it another go, and it'll
something working at 70% is something much better working at 0% as well. Yeah.
When cloud was new, there was a big push on everyone saying, you need to utilize it. And you now have people still who regret making that move. Yep. Do you think that might be a similar case with AI? People moving over and utilizing it and then regretting it in the future?
Yeah, I think it's, cloud has been hugely successful. Yeah, it's fundamentally changed the way that we use and consume IT. We've seen a lot of organizations move into the cloud and then really come back and realize the right answer is a hybrid model. Some applications are great in cloud. Some applications are great in your own data center. You'll have some applications which you probably didn't dare touch because the code's so old, but it's fundamental core to your business. And you've got it in a very special box in a very special room and no one's allowed to touch it. But that's about a hybrid world. Yeah, it's a hybrid world. I don't see it any different to AI running and operating in a hybrid world. If you want to be using OpenAI, or you want to use Grok, or you want to use Gemini, that's going to give you some great use cases. And it's a public tool, and you're using a public tool. But then at the same time, you're going to have your specific models, which are specific to your company, which are probably going to run better either in a private cloud. We talked about the Neo cloud setup, or you're running it. You've got 10 GPUs in your own data center as well. I think what we've discovered with cloud is the hybrid model is the most efficient and the most successful, and I believe we'll see the same journey on AI at the end of the day. Look, at the start of this, we talked about enterprise and what is it enterprises need to do, and we've talked a lot about the outcomes. But how do they get there? How do they go from I know I need to do this? How does it get to from there? It's an ecosystem play. You need to be working with a variety of different organizations. At Dell, we believe we do some really, really great technology into this market, technology that will sit and underpin it. But as we've talked about, this isn't a case of throwing technology at the problem. It's got to be an ecosystem of channel partners. And this is what the conversation we have all the time when we're talking AI with our channel partners. It's let's understand who can help drive the consultancy piece of this. Who's our channel partners know our customers so well and can help them with that consultancy piece. And then there's elements of, right, great, we know what we're trying to achieve. Where's the data? We need a data migration project. Yeah, we need to update. We need to move data around. We need to do that as well. There's an ecosystem play into there as well. Then there's a case of bringing that technology. And when we talk about the big deployments, this is complex. We talked about cables. Yeah, I've got pretty strong OCD. I mean, if anybody needs a job of putting those tags on the end of the cables, that would make me the happiest man in the world doing that job as well. But that deployment to it, yeah, and actually rolling these out into, we had a big deployment with a partner which started on Boxing Day in Iceland. Oh. Yeah, a team of people going out there because that's where the customer wanted to put into the data center. So that's this huge ecosystem play around it. And look, for this to be successful in the enterprise, I truly believe an enterprise has to leverage AI to make them successful in the going world from that. How they get to it, it's an ecosystem play. And we at Dell want to be a huge part of that ecosystem and work together with our partners to make it a success.
Do you see it as a self-correcting system then? So if you're connecting Dell with another third-party products, do you think AI will become clever enough to, if there's a configuration or an integration issue, for it to go off and seek that out?
100%. We're now building out our solutions with agents embedded within it as well. And whereas before in the old days you'll be sitting there, there's flashing red lights going off in the control room, a PC, a server, a storage device will not say, all right, this isn't right. There's something not going right here. The agent on the storage box will speak to the agent in the network device, which then might speak to the agent in the application. And this will start to form it. The process is the same. Something's going wrong.
Yeah.
And before, flashing red light, phone call. I'm so old I can remember the spider phone in the middle of the room that's open and everybody's screaming and shouting at each other from that. But then the agents will start to fix that. What does that mean? We're just more efficient. We're just going to get systems in less downtime, more efficient. It means we can do more and better things together as enterprises and be more successful.
If every mid-market organization could fix just one thing to make their estate more future-proof, what would it be?
Understand where your data is, what the data looks like, where your data is running and residing at the moment. And a lot of it is to free up that capacity in your data center. Take one real simple example, go into a 17G server. That gives you 1 to 7 capacity. You can clear up a huge amount of space, physical space in your data center to give you the space, the cooling, and the power that you need. The one thing is understand where your data is today and do that.
Why is it such an exciting time at Dell at the moment?
I think if you look at what's happening now in the world of AI, this is a technology revolution. And I'm very lucky and very proud and very privileged to be part of one of the world's leading technology companies, which is at the heart of driving this change in the marketplace. We are developing the solutions, the services, which are having a fundamental impact across a variety of different industries, which are making people's lives better at the end of the day. This isn't my first year working in technology. I've been working in technology for quite a while. And actually on a personal level, you join technology and this was the people in the back room at the end making stuff work. Technology now is at the front of every single business. And for sort of anybody, any sort of grads or apprentices of thinking a career in technology, there's no better time to come and join a business. If you're interested in Dell Technologies, we have a wonderful apprenticeship scheme, wonderful graduate schemes. Come and speak to us. It's a talent game. It's about getting the best talent in the business. Come and join. It's a great place to be.
So to end, we're asking our state of the system question, Ian. So on a scale of 1 to 10, how close do you think UK businesses are to the edge of their infrastructure capability?
Yeah, it's. I think we've still got a long journey to go on enterprise. You want 1 to 10? definitely below 5. Look, there's some up there in the 8s,
Wow.
9s, the 8s, 9s, 10s from there. Organizations have got to move, and they've got to move quickly. We talked before about there are organizations out there which are going to develop quicker and enter markets where people are. And if you don't move quick enough in this market, you are going to get left behind with it from there. So, yeah, I want to see it go faster, quicker. Super excited about what the UK government's talking about to create this sort of like provider AI drive behind the growth of it from there. Companies are in the UK; they're in the right place. And at Dell Technologies, we want to help drive that. We talked about we have great technology, we have a great ecosystem of partners to help organizations be successful. And we've done it to ourselves. We've made a huge amount of mistakes on our AGI journey as well. But the benefits that we are seeing now as an organization, and we want to share those learnings and experience that we've had into this.
Do you have to be a global organization to reap the benefits?
No, anybody from my experience now, the best dishwasher repairman in Surrey. It's a one-man band. The interaction with him, of you can find it quickly, you get your updates, it's all coming through. From a amazing person fixing our dishwasher through to global organizations, this applies to everyone. This applies to everyone around what we do.
If you want a clearer sense of how to modernize your organization's infrastructure, we've put together our infrastructure proposition in the show notes.
Perfect. Ian, anything to add?
No, listen, thanks so much. It's been such an enjoyable time today as well. It's been really good. And again, I'll give my plug to folks out there. If you're interested in this career, please get in touch. We were looking for the great people to come and join the journey that we're on here at Dell Technologies.
Thank you for listening to State of Systems.